So hey guys, this is your favorite the fictional vortex. So in this video, we will see, what if Naruto was badass overlord god of multiverse? But before we start, remember to subscribe and like this video. Now let's start. Damn it, why do they keep looking at me like that? A young child shouted. He entered his room. He was short even for his age, and his head was covered in spiky blonde hair that fell in front of his eyes while a set of whisker marks adorned his cheeks. That would be my fault, a voice sounded in his head. What do you want, QB? Trying to trick me into releasing you again? The blonde mentally retorted. Why does it matter? You hate Konoha as much as I do, so what's wrong with releasing me? Because I know how to know that releasing you will kill me. No it won't. What? Going to use your whole, you're a demon too, speech again. Despite it being true. No, just release this seal already. Forget it. The 5-year-old Naruto had been listening to the fox and its attempts at convincing him he was a demon for so long he couldn't remember when he first heard it, just that he couldn't remember his first meeting with the demon. QB on the other hand did remember their first meeting. It happened when he was just 2 years old. Oh how it hated the Yondaime for that. The seal was almost full. Why removed and the detestable human had stopped the child from releasing it. The QB wouldn't have cared if it wasn't for one simple little fact. The seal was completely screwing up the kid like it did with his mother. Neither should have had any chakra, but those damnable seals kept converting their strength into the inferior energy, poisoning their brains and deteriorating their muscles, shortening their lifespan to about 1/100th of what it would be without the seal causing the damage. Well, they always did say she had the strongest maternal instincts among demons, even when the kid wasn't her own. By the time she had been extracted from Kushina, the seal had already done its damage, and without it, the clashing of her natural power and the artificial one she had been given for so long began to tear her body apart. So she did what she could to take her out of her misery. The only problem had been when that bastard Yondaime had decided to seal her in the baby. She didn't want to get imprisoned again. Especially when the child would only suffer from her in the seal's presence, so she did the kindest thing. She tried to kill it before it could suffer, only to get stopped by the man and her former host, who then proceeded to seal her in the poor child. She wasn't an idiot. Hell, she was regularly considered a bit of a delinquent by demons, especially how she always put her full attention into subjects she liked at school. Of course, having an education allowed her to calculate the age when her new host would be unable to recover from the removal of the seal, and it was a mere 3 months away. Come on, I know it might not seem like it, but I do have your best interests at heart. Hell, I'll even take you away from this abominable village if you just release the seal. Look, I might not be smart, but I'm not stupid enough to release you. But doing so would prove to everyone in Konoha that you aren't me, the giant kitsune stated, hoping that that would succeed in convincing the blonde to release her. But then I would be dead and it wouldn't matter. Not quite. My previous host survived having me ripped out of her gut. Really? Yes, really. Silence Ray. GNED as the blonde thought over the course of action. After thinking about it, the blonde decided to take the chance. Well, he is only 5 and has practically no common sense developed yet. Suddenly Nding himself in front of the massive cage that housed the beast, Naruto proceeded to completely rip off the paper tag, revealing the lock that kept the gate closed. Pushing a large amount of chakra into the pin-sized gap, the lock was pried open. Before, with a simple click, the enormous gate swung open, revealing the QB in all her glory. I promise you, you won't regret this decision, the Beast stated as its form dispersed from the young blonde's mind, disintegrating the seal and putting the blonde in unrivaled levels of pain before he passed out. In the outside world, a malicious red aura exploded off the blonde, before drifting to the side of the room and condensing until instead of a red haze, there stood a relatively tall woman with long red hair that flowed down to the back of her knees. A lean and smooth face endowed with slitted red eyes and a row of razor-sharp fangs hidden by plump pink lips. QB wasn't an idiot. She knew that her aura would cause all the ninja in Konoha to investigate the reason behind why they could feel it. Closing her eyes, she proceeded to concentrate on warping the time-space continuum, effectively creating a portal, before grabbing her former host and entering it. Just before the contingency of Anbu and the Hokage arrived, appearing in a strange castle, QB immediately examined her surroundings. Yep. Definitely the right place, she E'd panned when she noticed the overabundance of portraits, with most of them depicting a large man with long flowing crimson hair and pure white eyes with black tattoos running vertically through them, while the rest depicted a woman with short blonde hair, red eyes and long pointed ears. Walking along the corridor, she proceeded to follow a very direct course through the castle, never stopping to look where the rooms or corridors led. After what seemed like hours, she finally came across a pair of massive doors that she could fit through in her largest state. Alright QB, you can do besides all you have to do is explain why you took so long and why you're carrying a kid. I just hope he doesn't kill me before I can finish, the redhead thought before taking a deep breath and knocking on the impressive door. Who dares come before the most badass freaking overlord in the entire cosmos, Lord Zeda? A booming, albeit arrogant, voice blasted from behind the door. It's QB, the fox replied nervously. QB, get her ass in here now. Quickly opening the door, QB ran to the middle of the room before getting on her hands and knees after placing her former container on the ground. Alright, explain why the hell you've been gone for 100 years. I only gave you 20 for your vacation. A large man sitting on a throne practically shouted. He looked exactly like the person depicted in the portraits and was wearing a black suit with a large, crimson-lined mantle. I'm sorry Lord Zeda, I was only going to take the 20, but things got screwed up when some Ol managed to hypnotize me, which ended up with me getting sealed in a woman. Then when she died, I was sealed inside a girl, who, sorta had the same feeling of power as you, the nine-tailed vixen informed the man. The same feeling of power as me, whereas she sorta died when the same asshole that hypnotized me ripped me from her. Had she been less mature she would have survived, but her seal suppressed her demonic power while giving her a weaker and more damaging version that the humans there have. And why the hell didn't you break free before then? Because she actively strengthened the seal with her own strength. Okay. So why have you brought a child here before me? Well, he was the next one I was sealed within, QB said nervously, causing Zeda to look at her blankly, and he was the girl's son. Upon hearing that, the most badass freaking overlord in the entire cosmos stared at the blonde child for several minutes. Lord Zeda, is there a problem? This girl, did she have red hair? Yes. The same feeling to her power I have in red hair, it must have been her. Who? My daughter. Quote. You had a daughter. She was born after you went on vacatio. Before she got kidnapped by that worthless piece of trash that Krichevskoy keeps as a vassal. You mean Etna? I can't remember its name. Sigh, the flat-chested redhead that can only get prinnies to work for her. That's the one. Etna. Whatever. So, if your daughter was the one I got sealed in, then that would make him your grandson, QB stated as she pointed towards the blonde. That's the problem. She shouldn't have been old enough to give birth, unless, time must move differently in that world. Actually, the seal made her mature about 100 times faster than normal, the red-eyed woman deadpanned, snapping the overlord out of his delusions, and it would appear as though your grandson will be maturing at the same rate as a human, though I'm pretty sure he'll stop aging once he reaches 20 years old, the human equivalent of 2000. Do humans really age that quickly? Yeah, and they usually die of old age before reach 100. Damn, it must really suck to live such short lives. Yeah, anyway, what's his name? Naruto. Fishcake to the infirmary. Of course Lord Zeda, the relieved Biju said before picking the blonde back up and leaving the throne room. My head, Naruto groaned out as he regained consciousness. Immediately he proceeded to recall what had happened. He had just gotten home, argued with QB, released the seal, then everything went blank. That was when he realized he had released the fox. QB, he called out nervously. Oh, you're awake, came the feminine reply to his call. I was expecting you to be out of it for another day. Might I ask why you are still here, fox? Came another unfamiliar and feminine voice. Because I actually care about him. TCH, such a delinquent, the second voice muttered. Opening his eyes, Naruto was surprised to see a gray room with lots of red decorating the place, which was completely unfamiliar to him. Where am I? The infirmary in your grandfather's castle. The redhead sitting next to his bed told him. My grandfather's castle. Yep. I sort of found out that you are in fact my master's grandson, the beautiful woman with 9 billowing tails said nonchalantly. Really? Quote. Yep. Can I meet him? That depends. On what? On if you can walk, the red-eyed woman deadpanned. Of course I can walk, Naruto responded, as he proceeded to climb off the bed and immediately collapse when his legs were unable to support him. Sigh, there is a very good reason why you can't walk, Naruto. You see, without the Yondaime's seal converting your demonic energy into chakra, your body has been rejecting the chakra it already had stored within it while attempting to refill your demonic reserves. To put it another way, you have been transformed from a fake human into a true demon and shouldn't even be awake right now, the demonic woman told him as she helped him back onto the bed. Oh, I didn't know. Anyway, who was the other person and where are they? That was the nurse and she's gone to tell Lord Zeda that you are awake. Okay. Who's Lord Zeda? And why did she call you a delinquent? Lord Zeda is your grandfather. And I was called a delinquent because I'm prepared to show concern for others. Huh, how does that make you a delinquent? Cultural differences. Huh, for demons and humans, the definition of a delinquent is the exact opposite of the other. That's a little weird, Naruto said before letting out a yawn. Well then, it looks like you're tired. Get some sleep, we'll talk later. All right then, the young blonde replied before resting his head on the pillow and letting sleep consume him. After a day of recovering from the ordeal of losing his chakra, we find Naruto slowly walking through the castle, making sure not to overdo it because despite the demonic doctor's skills at healing injuries, she had absolutely no experience with suppressed power deteriorating the body. Of course, walking in the castle was proving hazardous to his health, like when he found a stuffed penguin, only to realize that it could talk and move of its own accord, or when he came face to face with a large green dragon. He had almost had a heart attack when that happened. The worst part, however, was the simple fact that he was lost and due to his experiences in Konoha, he refused to ask for directions. Then again, it could just be because he was a guy. Arg, why does this castle have to be so big? The child growled out in anger. Because it's an overlord's brat, came an unfamiliar voice from behind him. Turning around, Naruto came face to knees with a blue-haired man with pointy ears. He was wearing a tiger stripe sash with blue pants and a blue waistcoat with a lot of yellow trim and a large blue scarf-like thing attached to the front of his coat and flowing several inches away from him as it circled around the back of his head. He was also carrying a sack with a pair of stripes decorating it. Are you by any chance Zeda? The blonde asked nervously as he looked at the man that towered over him. No, Zeda's the guy in the portraits. I'm his eternal rival Alexander, the blue-haired sack-carrying demon told him. Oh, so why are you here? Oh, nothing much, just going to try and kill him again. Quote. You're going to try and kill him? Yep, again, yep. How many times have you tried? Let's see. Zeda said I'd sent 21,127 assassins after him and started 6,423 wars with him. But he's the one that counts, so I would expect there to be a mistake somewhere, the tiger-clothed man said nonchalantly. Quote. Are you serious? You've tried to kill him that many times and still haven't done it? Naruto asked disbelievingly, saying I've lost to Zeda that many times doesn't really mean much. I mean, come on. This is the guy that beat the greatest overlord in history when he was trapped in the form of a book. That has got to be saying something. Besides, today is the day I'll succeed. May I ask you something? What is it, brat? I intend to kill Zeda before lunch. If you do kill him, then what will you do? Gloat over his corpse, of course. But what about after that? Well, if he's your eternal rival, then what will you do when you don't have him to fight? That's easy. Alexander started, only to stop to think. You don't know, do you? Well, I'll think of something after I've killed him. And what if you can't? Why not just try to beat him and let him live if you win? That way you can keep beating him and still have your eternal rival, Naruto asked. You know, I never even thought of that. If I can keep beating him, then I can keep gloating about how I won. I like you, kid. What's your name? Naruto. Well then, Naruto, how would you like to serve me as an advisor? What's an advisor? Quote ellipsis quote. Quote ellipsis quote. A person that does what you just did, Alex stated. What did I just do? Thought something through for me. Why don't you just think for yourself? Too much hassle. Quote ellipsis quote. You joking right? What makes you think that? Is it really that hard to think? No, I just don't like doing it. Quote ellipsis quote. Quote ellipsis quote. What? I give up. Bye. Naruto said before beginning to continue walking the way he was going before. You'll be sorry when I kill Zeda and leave you without a master, the blue-haired demon called out. Zeda isn't my master. Then what are you doing in here? He's my granddad. Quote ellipsis quote. Quote ellipsis quote. Zeda had a kid, the sack-carrying overlord said in confusion after Naruto had disappeared from view. Well, these look important, Naruto muttered when he saw a massive set of doors big enough to fit the Hokage monument in. Taking a deep breath, Naruto proceeded to attempt to open the massive doors, only to all on his face when they swung open with no effort. OWW, I take it you're Fishcake, another unfamiliar voice called out. Hey, my name's Naruto, not Fishcake. The enraged blonde shouted at the offender, only to see the same person that filled the countless portraits in the castle. Next to him was a strangely apathetic woman with short blonde hair and pointy ears. So this is our grandson. He's surprisingly short, the woman stated, enraging the younger blonde before he realized what she had said. Wait, did you just call me your grandson? Yes, I did, the strange woman replied. Naruto couldn't believe it. Just 2 days ago he had no family and now, he at the very least had grandparents. So then Fishcake, Naruto. Yeah, whatever, what do you want to do? Zeda asked with a clear amount of boredom in his voice. He is asking what you want to do with your life. Well, I dunno. Before releasing Kyuubi all I had to do was try and get the villagers to stop seeing me as a demon. Now that I don't live there and actually am a demon, I don't know what I'll do, the blonde said, realizing that he had lost his purpose. Well then, I'll give you a purpose. As my descendant, you will become the number 2 most badass freaking overlord in the entire cosmos. The number 2, I'm number 1. Screw that, I'll be number 1. The youngest in the room shouted angrily, not prepared to be second best at anything, probably his demonic instincts going into overdrive. Over my dead body. Fine then. And with that the two entered a growling, glaring match. Ha ha ha, it's good to see you two getting along so well already, the blonde woman commented with a chuckle. We're getting along well, Naruto said, getting distracted by his grandmother. Indeed, you're acting almost like a father and son do. You mean death threats are considered good to demons? Yes, I'm so going to have to get used to this, Naruto muttered with his head hung low. Why, humans aren't that different, are they? Zeda asked in confusion. Actually they are. Zeda, I've come to challenge you once again. Came the shout of a voice Naruto heard not long ago. Fine then, asshat, this will be the 2013th time you've decided to face me head on. The redhead shouted before leaving the room to face the intruder. So does this happen a lot? Naruto asked the woman. It does happen surprisingly often. So what's your name? Naruto asked, still getting used to how different demons are to humans. Salome. But I'm still your grandmother. Hey, yeah, sorry about that, I'm still getting used to the way demons act. Yes, well, since your grandfather is busy fighting Alexander again, I'll get a vassal to escort you to your room, and train you, Salome stated unenthusiastically. Aren't you or grandpa going to train me? We might. It depends if we feel like it. Sigh, so who will be put in charge of training me? The demon you are most familiar with, come in Kyuubi. And with that said the doors opened to reveal the elegant form of the humanized fox. So you're going to be training me? Yep. Well then, what are we waiting for? Let's go. I wanna become the most badass overlord yesterday. The hyperactive blonde shouted before running out of the door. Wow, I've never seen him with this much ambition before. This much energy, yes, but not this much ambition. Oh well, just makes my job easier. Kyuubi stated before casually walking towards the door. Just as the blonde child popped his head back in. Come on, hurry up, I wanna get really strong really fast. And if you're anything like your granddad then you will, the vixen stated calmly before they began his training. Master dude, Master Dude, wake up. Master Dude, it's time to go to break FA boom. Prinnies, fix that hole. Yes, Master Dude. Naruto was annoyed. That stupid Prinny woke him up every morning for the past 7 years. That was 2,557 times, and every morning it got the same response, a fireball to the face. Getting out of his bed, Naruto proceeded to open his crimson eyes before doing a few stretches and getting dressed in a pair of black trousers, a white shirt and a loose red tie and a black mantle with red trim. Before kicking one of the short, blue, peg-legged, satchel wearing stuffed penguins known as Prinnies, across the room, where it proceeded to explode and create a second hole in the room. Prinnies, fix that one as well, the blonde ordered before leaving for breakfast. Morning fish cake, Zeda stated from the end of the banquet table that held their breakfast. Morning, old geezer, came the blonde's reply as he took a seat and proceeded to eat a boar, his grandmother back in her own netherworld. Yeah, something came up which she had to deal with. A rebellion, probably. Silence reigned once again as the pair proceeded to devour the feast. It seems like the chef is trying to poison us again, Naruto said after eating a 72-ounce steak. I'm guessing potassium cyanide. I think you're right. Definitely tastes like it, Zeda replied calmly. I'm going to have to punish him for that. If he wants to poison us, he should use a stronger poison. Agreed. The duo didn't stop eating and soon the entire banquet was gone. Prinnies, tidy this mess up, Naruto shouted when there was nothing left, prompting several Prinnies to arrive and clear the table of the empty dishes. I'm leaving, Naruto stated out of nowhere. Why? I can't become an overlord without a world to rule, so I'm going to go back to the world I was born and conquer it. Oh, and I'm going to take Kyuubi. Why? I'm useless with portals. I need someone to make them for me, and Kyuubi doesn't actually do anything here that doesn't involve me. Fine then. Just remember to become a badass overlord so I can gloat about spawning you. You won't be gloating when I kill you. You won't kill me. I'm the most badass overlord ever to exist. And I'll rip that title from your dead hands. I'd like to see you try. I will when I'm stronger, the younger demon stated before raising from his seat and leaving to find his vassal. Kyuubi was annoyed. Why the hell did she have to see? Contact the Rosen Queen Netherworld branch and request that they expand into the elemental countries. Hell, she could barely remember that world's postcode. After all, it was over 20 digits long and she hadn't looked at it for over 100 years. Then of course, she had to set up a portal to that world as well. Then when she was there, she would have to create an entrance to the Dark Assembly so that Naruto could request new vassals. Then of course there was the portal she would have to set up to allow him to enter the item worlds. Not only that, but she also had to return to the world where he ended up getting stuck in people's stomachs for nearly 100 years and risked getting sealed away again. And why? All because he wanted to turn a human world into a netherworld instead of just kill some random overlord and take their throne for his own. However, it did at least give her something to do, and he would be taking her as his top vassal, so she would be getting a promotion in rank out of it. Finally finishing the final touches on the portal to the elemental countries, she proceeded to input some random coordinates just outside of Konoha, before waiting for her new master to arrive. Well, would you look at that? Zeda's grandson is going to try and take over his own world. How cute. A lanky redhead with red eyes, a whip-like tail and wings, said as she looked over a single sheet of paper handed to her by a Prinny. She was wearing what could only be described as a large belt, a small bra that revealed her to have a surprisingly flat chest, long gloves that covered almost all of her arms, thigh-high boots, a choker with a metal ring attached to it and a set of skull earrings, while her hair was tied into a pair of pigtails. Edna, haven't you tried that on several occasions? A blonde-haired girl with a red ribbon tied in her hair, taking a form that looked surprisingly similar to rabbit ears. Her eyes were red and she wore a white and red dress while a small pair of bat wings and a tail protruded from her back. Shut up, Flan. Besides, I've always tried to take a netherworld from an overlord. Zeda's brat it going to try and turn a human world into a netherworld. And why does this even matter? Came the call of a short boy with blue hair that was styled like antenna, while he wore a large cape that floated behind him and a small pair of shorts. Like the other two, he had red eyes. Oh, no real reason. I just think it might be fun to give him hell every now and then, the redhead stated as she put the Prinny report down. Are we that bored now? The blonde asked clueless. Not yet, but we probably will be once I've put down this rebellion, the blue-haired boy replied before proceeding to fall asleep on his throne. Well, I've got the postcode for the world he's going to take over. So why not make life a little more awkward for him by spreading the information around, Edna stated. Edna, don't a lot of overlords actually like him? Oh, it'll still make things fun to hear about from the prinnies, the redhead stated before going to photocopy the report. Stop Mizuki, shouted a tall man with a large scar across his nose and a pineapple hairstyle. Just shut up and hand me the scroll, Aruka, otherwise I will kill her, a silver-haired man with a large shuriken strapped to his back said with a manic glint in his eye as he held a kunai to a young girl's neck. The young girl had short, dark blue hair and light lavender eyes that lacked a pupil. She was wearing a beige jacket and dark blue pants, while her hands were being held behind her back, putting her at the mercy of her sensei. All she wanted to do was pass the academy, but she just didn't have the confidence to perform correctly during the exams. She had been told by her sensei Mizuki that she could pass if she managed to steal the scroll labeled Forbidden and learn a single jutsu from it, so she did. Well, she didn't succeed in learning the jutsu, but she did manage to steal it. And look where she was now, at the mercy of her traitorous sensei while her loyal sensei tried his hardest to save her and protect village secrets. Then they were all blinded. Opening their eyes, they saw a strange portal of light, before a pair of figures walked out of it, revealing a relatively tall boy and a beautiful redhead. Are you sure this is the place? The blonde asked casually as he looked around the dark forest. Yeah, this should be a few miles outside of the main village, the redhead stated confidently. Hey, you guys, is Konoha near here? Shut up or I kill the girl, Mizuki stated menacingly. Sure, so is Konoha around here. The blonde replied completely unfazed by the threat. Aren't you in the least bit worried about her? The silver-haired Chunin asked in surprise. Why would I be? Besides, if I was in your position, I'd be aiming for the spleen, much slower and more agonizing death. So is Konoha around here or not? It's about 10 miles in that direction, the silver-haired traitor stated as he pointed towards the general direction of Konohamaru. See, I told you so, the redhead stated smugly. Shut up. Besides, it's been 7 years since we were last here. Do you really expect me to believe you did more than guess the location? The tallish blonde stated rhetorically. Excuse me, but who are you? Aruka asked in confusion, considering how the two had just succeeded in completely changing the mood of the situation. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, the blonde stated, earning a pair of gasps from the two Chunin who knew the name, and I'm here to have fun. He finished, causing the humans to sweat drop. So, you're the QB, huh? The traitor stated maliciously. Actually, I'm QB, the redhead responded, revealing her tails and ears. Quote ellipsis quote. Quote ellipsis quote. What the hell? Quote. Shut up. I'm not in the mood to deal with your useless screaming, Naruto said in annoyance. Shut up. You expect us to shut up when a monster like that is free? Mizuki shouted before finding his head wrapped in a large cloth. I thought I told you to shut up, Naruto said as his mantle proceeded to lift the silver-haired traitor into the air, before holding his palm out. A large ball of blue fire bursting into existence within it. Now you die. And with that last sentence, Naruto proceeded to throw the fireball straight into the restrained Chunin's face, before exploding very violently, obliterating everything within 100 feet behind the human. Hinata was scared. This stranger appeared out of nowhere with the QB in tow, completely ignored her safety, offered a more painful alternative to slicing her throat before obliterating Mizuki because he didn't shut up. Whoever this person was, they were evil. Aruka's thoughts were working along similar lines to Hinata's. However, he at least knew who this stranger was, but he also couldn't believe the destruction he caused. That move was at the very least a higher rank jutsu, and it had no hand seals either. Come QB, it's time to go to Konoha, Naruto ordered his vassal. Yes, Master Naruto, the vixen replied, forgetting to put away her extra features. Did she just call him master? Hinata asked, still trying to process everything that happened. I think she did. Oh shit. Konoha, the Chunin shouted before running full speed towards Konoha, the scroll attached to his back. So, what are you going to do first? Kyubi asked her young master as they approached the village. First, I'll join the ninja ranks, work my way up, and then when I'm bored, conquer the world, Naruto stated calmly. And what if they don't let you join the ninja ranks? Then I'll just conquer the world sooner. What about your vassals? I'll expand my power base while I'm still a ninja, then by the time I'm bored, I should already be strong enough to crush every obstacle in this world. Lord Naruto, please don't get cocky. This is the last world Ball was seen. It's claimed that a human here man aged to defeat him and that he still hasn't escaped the clutches of this world. The tyrant overlord was defeated here. That'll make things interesting, the young overlord mused as they approached the main gate to Konohamaru. Azumo and Katetsu were petrified. They were just playing a small game of poker when they looked up and saw a couple of figures approaching the gate, and immediately ticked the nine tails waving around lazily behind one of them. Immediately calling for the Hokage's assistance, they proceeded to prepare themselves for the fight of their lives, to protect Konoha, to protect their home. Oh, would you look at that, a welcoming committee, Naruto stated when he saw the two ninja standing in their way. I wonder why they're ready to attack. So do I. Before they were even halfway there, more than 10 more ninja appeared, with a robed man standing at the front, before throwing off his robes to reveal samurai armor, then going through several motions with his hands and then slamming them to the ground, creating a lot of smoke which cleared to reveal the man wielding a large staff. Do I consider this an act of war? Naruto asked as he approached the village. Stay back, Kyubi. The obvious leader shouted at the duo. How does he know I'm Kyubi? The red-headed vixen asked, causing several people to sweat drop. How? Because you have 9 tails, of course. One of the Anbu shouted at the surprised Kitsune, causing both her and her blonde master to look at her rear. Crap. I forgot to hide them again, didn't I? It would appear so. Sigh, my name is Naru to Uzumaki and I demand to be allowed entrance to Konoha. Sarutobi Hiruzen was shocked. Here was a blonde boy with whisker marks, claiming to be Naruto, and walking next to him was the Kyubi. However, his introduction was a little off. Don't you mean Uzumaki Naruto? My name is Naruto Uzumaki, came the indignant reply from the blonde. Cultural differences, Lord Naruto. They say their family name before their name. Kyubi informed him calmly. What? That's retarded, the young blonde stated upon hearing that. The Hokage was shocked. The Kyubi had just referred to Naruto as Lord, which meant he had considered him its master, and then he made fun of their naming convention. What are your intentions here? The Sandame shouted at the duo, prompting a reply from the blonde. I want to be a ninja. Quote ellipsis quote. Quote ellipsis quote. And if we say no, I'll destroy Konoha. Quote ellipsis quote. Quote ellipsis quote. And how do you plan on doing that? Well, if my memory serves me correctly, Kyubi almost succeeded. When I was born, so I shouldn't have any problems. The blonde stated calmly. Why shouldn't you have any problems? Because Lord Naruto is approximately 5 times stronger than me, Kyubi stated calmly. Quote ellipsis quote. Quote ellipsis quote. Quote ellipsis quote. Sigh, I guess we could give you a chance, however. If you betray our generosity we will bring you down, Sarutobi stated coldly, before allowing the duo in, the surrounding ninja still poised to strike should the duo try anything. So let me get this straight. You, Sarutobi stated pointing towards Naruto, are a demon by blood, released Kyubi, and have been raised by your grandparents since you were 5 years old, am I correct? That's the basic gist of it, Kyubi said calmly. Now, may I ask exactly why you are sitting in my chair, Naruto-san? My name is Naruto, and it's the comfiest, the blonde replied as he rested his feet on the Hokage's table, earning several disbelieving stares off the ninja in the room. Show Hokage-sama some respect. A random Anbu demanded. I thought you said the title was just Hokage. Naruto stated towards the 9-tailed fox. It is. Then why do they keep calling him Hokage-sama? For them, saying Hokage-sama is essentially the same as saying Lord Hokage, the red-haired beauty informed him. That's gay, the blonde deadpanned. Cultural differences, Lord Naruto. They use honorifics while we use titles. Well, fuck that. I'm not going to change the way I speak just to fit in with a bunch of humans. Look, Naruto-san, it's Naruto. He's just saying, Mr. Naruto, when he says san at the end of your name, Kyuubi stated. Then why the hell doesn't he just say that? Cultural differences. Every human in the room was beginning to get annoyed with the blonde demon's attitude. He arrives at the front gate, threatens to destroy the village, before acting like he owns the place. All in all, they were beginning to get pissed off. The Hokage was still in shock over what he heard from Iruka. That was one of the reasons why he had been so quick to arrive at the gate. The Chunin instructor had managed to make it to the village before the demonic duo and inform him of what happened in the forest. The aged leader had made him return to his wayward pupil to take her to safety. Uncertain of the fight that could break out and wanting to ensure the safety of the Hyuga heir. Fine then. Let's just get this over with. Do you know how to use chakra? Sarutobi asked. Kyuubi, what's chakra again? The blonde demon asked, causing several humans to face plant with the floor. You don't even know what chakra is and you want to be a ninja, one of the Anbu shouted in anger. Lord Naruto, chakra is that human energy that you can't use. There's nothing to worry about though. Demonic energy is far more potent and versatile than chakra, the redhead stated calmly. So chakra is useless. No it isn't. The same Anbu shouted upon hearing him. Will you shut up before I get pissed? Naruto demanded. And why should I listen to you? Because according to Iruka, he obliterated Mizuki when he didn't, the Hokage informed the Anbu. Kyuubi, do you have any idea what they're talking about? Naruto asked his vassal. Probably those people we met in the forest. We met people in the forest. Yes, remember the man with the knife to a girl's neck? Oh yeah, I forgot about that. The overlord muttered under his breath, dumbfounding the humans present at his callousness. How can you forget something like that? Very easily. That's enough. I've still got to speak with Hinata and Iruka about what happened earlier, so come back tomorrow to get your photo taken for your ninja license. Whoever I place you with can fill you in on the basics of being a ninja, the Hokage stated before motioning for the demons to leave. And exactly where are we supposed to stay? Naruto asked when he realized that there were no castles in the vicinity. Crap. I forgot. The Hokage muttered before thinking of where to put the strangers. How about this? You just give us a plot of land. Preferably at least 4 million square feet and we'll take it from there, Kyuubi stated. Earning blank stares at the preference. You can have the plot near Training Ground 44, but it isn't that big. Sarutobi stated. In reality they had been trying to do something with that plot as it was but no one wanted to go near it. Fine then. Let's go Kyuubi. Yes master. The redhead responded chirpily before the duo left the door, almost walking into Iruka and Hinata in the process. So this is the plot. We might be capable of fitting a small castle here, Naruto mused. When he looked at the size of the plot. So do you have a plan Kyuubi? Yep. The vixen responded before pulling out a cell phone and dialing a number. Hello, Prinny Squad. Yeah. A standard small. Yeah. Now. Alright then. She finished hanging up. They should be here right about now. Right on cue. A large group of Prinnies arrived carrying large amounts of tools, before proceeding to excavate the land at a surprising pace, laying a solid foundation and finally, place a dimensional storage unit in the center of it, releasing a castle approximately 5 times the size of the Hokage's residence, which was quickly attached to the foundations, creating a fully functioning castle within half an hour. How much will this cost Kyuubi? Naruto asked upon seeing the finished result. Only 200,000 HL1. The redhead responded with a shrug. It's a pity we couldn't get more land, this castle is rather inadequate, the blonde muttered upon looking at the massive structure. Yeah, but unfortunately we have to make do with what we can for now, Kyuubi informed him before the duo paid the Prinny Squad and proceeded to make themselves at home. The next day found the overlord to be sitting in the Hokage's office once again, this time awaiting his license to get processed. Well then Naruto-san, Hugh twitch from the blonde, I'm already pulling a lot of strings simply letting you join the ninja ranks, so you will have to start from the bottom and work your way up, so tomorrow you will be placed on a team with 2 other newly graduated genin, the aged leader stated, before the door was thrown open, revealing a young child wearing a yellow shirt, a strange hat and a large scarf. I'll get you today Oji-san. The child shouted as he charged towards them, before tripping on his scarf. I'll give you a 7 for effort, 1 for execution, the demon stated calmly as the child picked himself off the floor, and if you're going to wear a scarf like that, then at least learn how to control it like me and Laharl. Huh, was all the child could say in response to the future overlord's statements. Anyway, am I finished here? Naruto asked the aged Kage. You aren't even cons. RNED that someone just attempted to kill me. The Hokage asked disbelievingly. You're a leader, I'd be surprised if you didn't get people trying to kill you. Even if it's my grandson. The aged leader asked incredulously. No, I've made exactly 1,506 assassination attempts on my grandfather, so I'm not surprised. Quote ellipsis quote. Quote ellipsis quote. You actually kept count. Yeah, is that a problem? You have actually tried to murder your own grandfather. That's normal for a demon. Huh, the yellow-shirted child said in confusion at the conversation. Anyway, if we're finished here I'm leaving. The demon stated before getting up and leaving the room past the dark-clothed man that had kept silent throughout the entire conversation. Are you sure you can trust that person, Hokage-sama? The man that wore a pair of sunglasses asked after the blonde was out of earshot. No, but we don't really have a choice. He has the QB at his command. Do you think it would be worth it to send an assassin? The younger man asked. I doubt it. He seemed completely unfazed by Konohamaru's attempt, so I can only assume that he considers assassination a normal occurrence, Sarutobi stated with an exasperated sigh. Aren't you going to go after Konohamaru? Quickly looking around, the younger man realized that his charge had left and immediately set off to find him. Sarutobi Konohamaru couldn't believe it. There was a massive castle just outside of Konoha. He was pretty sure it wasn't there yesterday, but it was far too large to have been built in a day. Then of course there was the strangely dressed person that he had followed. They had proceeded to enter the enormous structure. Without a care in the world, they had something Konohamaru wanted, training. So proceeding with all due caution, Konohamaru entered the strange castle and was greeted by a blue penguin. Hey dude, whatcha doin' in Master Dude's castle, dude? The strange creature asked the dumbfounded child. On one hand it was just a blue stuffed penguin, on the other hand, it was moving and talking on its own. What are you? Was the most intelligent thing the child could say. What am I? I'm a prinny, of course, dude. What's a prinny? Me, dude. But what are you? A prinny, dude. Prinny. Came the thunderous roar from across the castle, shocking both the child and penguin. Crap, dude. I gotta go, dude. The prinny claimed before running at inhuman speeds across the castle. Quote ellipsis quote. That was random, the scarf-wearing child muttered before proceeding to follow the trail that the peg-legged penguin left. The child continued to follow the trail before they disappeared into a large door. Inching the door open just a crack, Konohamaru peered in, immediately noticing the boy from his grandfather's office, sitting at a table with a simply massive banquet laid out on it. If you're here to assassinate me, then you'll have to hide better than that, Naruto stated without looking away from his food, shocking the scarf-wearing child. Gathering his courage, Konohamaru proceeded to enter the room, quickly noticing the attractive redhead at the opposite end of the table. I want you to train me, the younger child demanded, before finding himself getting hung upside down. Looking at his ankle, he quickly realized that the one holding him up was the blonde's mantle. Give me one good reason why I wouldn't kill you for demanding something from me, Naruto ordered. I'm the Hokage's grandson, and I'm the grandson of Zeda, officially the strongest demon overlord in the universe. Do you really think I'm scared of a mere human? Naruto asked rhetorically. Why, you aren't human? Of course I'm not. I'm stronger than any human. Master Naruto, please just let the child go, he's just a spoilt bra. And isn't used to facing people that deny him, QB asked. Sigh, fine then, the blonde stated in exasperation before flinging the child out of the door and into the blue-clad man that had just proceeded to charge through it. OWW, the youngest groaned as he got up, quickly realizing that he was on top of the man that was assigned as his personal sensei. Honorable grandson, you should not be in this place alone, the glasses-wearing adult stated as he proceeded to stand up. He shouldn't be here, full stop, Naruto mentioned coldly. Now get out before I kill you both. Threatening us isn't a smart move, the arrogant Tokubetsu Jonin stated calmly, before Naruto proceeded to show off his mana, too, at which point the Jonin proceeded to sweat in terror as he felt the largest source of raw power he had ever felt. So large that it made the Kyubis seem insignificant. "Leave before I destroy you insignificant specks," the red-eyed blonde stated harshly, causing both the Jonin and his student to flee in terror. "Did you have to be so harsh, master?" the redhead asked softly. "They entered my castle without my permission. Simply letting them go proves that I'm softer than an overlord should be," Naruto stated as he continued to eat the feast. "Sigh, yeah. I guess it does," the vixen stated as she proceeded to continue eating as well. "Let's see. I need to request some vassals from the Dark Assembly, don't I? I think I'll start with a healer. Can't have an infirmary without a healer," Naruto said calmly. "Yeah. By the way, Rosen Queen Netherworld branch said that they've a nag to purchase a premises within Konoha and that they will be ready to start trade tomorrow," Kyubi informed him, earning a small nod off the overlord to be. "That is good to hear. I can't equip my vassals without the proper equipment. And considering what I've seen here, even the worst Rosen Queen has to offer is better than their best," Naruto stated. "But isn't Rosen Queen's worst stuff like pot lids and toys?" Kyubi asked incredulously. "Yes, but they're made of significantly more durable materials than what these humans use. Hell, Rosen Queen's cloth is tougher than their highest grade armor." "Wow. That is pretty pathetic." "Indeed. Have you set up the portal to the Dark Assembly?" Naruto asked once he had finished his meal. "Yep, it was the first one I set up. The portal to the item world should be up and running in a few hours," the redhead confirmed for the demonic child. "That's good to hear. Well, I'm off to get some new vassals. Continue working on the portals." "Yes, sir," the vixen responded before they each went their own way. Enerly a patient man, however, even he found that he lost his temper with the class more than he should have, like right now. "Sit down and shut up," he shouted, disrupting the argument a pair of girls were having over who would sit next to the Rookie of the Year. "Good, now class, I know this isn't a normal occurrence, however Hokage-sama himself has placed a new member in the class as a graduate. Please come in," the scarred Chunin informed the class before calling in the mystery student, and almost shitting himself when the demonic blonde walked through the door with murder written on his features. "My name is Naruto. That is all you need to know," the demon stated before proceeding to make his way towards an empty seat. Hyuga Hinata was scared. She had been graduated thanks to her skill in stealing the scroll 2 nights ago, but here was the destructive psychopath that nearly got her killed back then, and he was walking straw-eyed towards her, or the empty seat next to her, she realized when the monster simply sat down and fell asleep, completely ignoring her in the process. Naruto was pissed. Kyubi had informed him about delinquents in this world and how they would be considered good demons, while delinquent demons would be considered good humans, so he had to attend class for once in his life. That would be the first thing he changed when he became the overlord. Sleeping through the team listings, Naruto only caught his own team number, 7, before the class was dismissed for lunch. Walking outside to buy some lunch, Naruto soon found himself getting stopped by a loud voice. "Hi there, my name's Sakura, nice to meet you." Before he turned around, the Hokage was feeling uneasy. Here he was sitting at his desk having a coffee with the beast that killed countless Konoha citizens 12 years ago, and it actually seemed nice. "So Kyubi-san, is there anything I need to know about Naruto?" The aged leader sked the most knowledgeable of the beings in Konoha when it came down to the strange blonde. "Well, let's see, he's a typical overlord type, you know, hates the idea of love, peace, justice, you know, all the good crap," the vixen stated, her tail slowly waving behind her. "Oh, and then of course there's his fear." "His fear? Yeah. You see, one day an acquaintance forced him into volunteer work ND giving blood. Now for a demon that is pretty much the worst torture you can inflict, and ever since that day, Naruto has been scared of the first thing you notice when you see that girl, and usually has a very violent reaction to it," Kyubi stated calmly. "And that is, oh, don't worry. I'm pretty sure it won't matter here. After all, I've only ever seen her and succubuses with that feature," the fox stated. "And what would that feature be?" "Pink hair," the red-eyed beauty informed him casually, causing the Hokage to suddenly lose all color in his face. BB boom MM. Looking out of the window, Both could only stare at the enormous mushroom cloud that came from the same direction as the academy. Shit. I wonder why Master Naruto decided to blow something up. Kyubi questioned quietly. One of the academy students in the class 1 put him in has pink hair. Oh, well I guess she doesn't anymore. Then again I don't expect her to have a head anymore. Wait, how do you know it's a she? I doubt a guy wouldn't dye his hair if it was pink, the demon deadpanned. I guess you're right. Anyway, I have to go and stop any escalation. The old man said before leaving his office and heading towards the explosion. Well, he's stupid leaving me in here on my own, with countless sensitive documents in full view and reaching distance. Oh well, she said with a shrug before following the aged leader towards the academy. Sakura was scared. She had just managed to avoid the explosion courtesy of the look of pure, unadulterated fear that plastered his face before his hand burst into blue flames. Giving her enough time to carry me out of there. The problem was the 50-foot wide crater where one of the training grounds used to be. Fortunately no one was in it at the time. However, he had absolutely no idea why the new guy had reacted that violently with her. She hadn't done anything to him except say hello. So she did the only thing she could think of in this situation, continue to hide, when a shadow loomed over her. The rest of the class could only stare in amazement at the destruction the blonde had caused. He was obviously powerful and violent. The only one that in the class that wasn't surprised by the blonde's power was the one who had witnessed it before. However, his reaction didn't fit with what she had seen before. He seemed too arrogant and egocentric to waste his time attacking someone for no reason. Little reason perhaps, but not no reason. Uchiha Sasuke was furious. This complete stranger was capable of obliterating an entire training ground with a single fireball. When he was only capable of scorching the ground, the power difference shouldn't be that large. Suddenly, the entire area was covered with Anbu, while the Hokage proceeded to jump in front of the pale blonde. Naruto-san, please tell me you did not just kill a ninja, the aged leader asked sternly, hoping that no one was killed in the explosion. Hey, Hokage, came a call from behind a tree. Pinky's over here. Looking towards the tree, everyone immediately saw the attractive form of Kyubi, before she pulled the hiding Pinkett into view, with one major difference, her hair was hidden within a large top hat. Why do I have to wear this? Sakura asked, still terrified of the blonde. Because he attacked you because of your hair. Pink hair is pretty much the only thing he fears unconditionally. And he attacks anything he fears, the redhead informed her, surprising everyone at the sheer randomness of the blonde's fear. Why is he scared of pink hair? A random student asked dumbfounded. He had a very bad experience with someone that had pink hair when he was younger. Well, at least no one has been harmed. While that's a relief, there's the small problem of the hole in the academy grounds, the Hokage stated calmly upon the resolved situation. Oh, sorry about that, I'll get on it right away, Kyubi said calmly, before pulling out her phone, confusing Averio. Nay, at the appearance of the object they had never seen before. Hello Prinny Squad. Yeah. Alright then, she said into the mobile, before turning it off. I still don't understand how they can always know what I'm after when I call. Who's they? The village leader asked, before a huge group of blue penguins suddenly appeared out of nowhere with a large amount of building materials in hand. Before they began to fill in the hole, level it off and lay new turf on the bare spot. Yo, that'll be 30,000 HL dude, one of the strange creatures wearing a yellow hard hat told Kyubi before S. He proceeded to give the Prinny the correct change. What about our tip dude? I would kick you for asking that, but I don't want to have to pay for repairs again, so leave before I drown you, the redhead stated coldly. Why yes sir dude, the hard hat wearing penguin said before the entire group of peg-legged, less than minimum wage workers, disappeared in a burst of speed. There, all done, the woman stated chirpily as the human stood completely dumbfounded by what had just happened in less than 5 minutes. What the hell were those things? The Hokage asked, still trying to process the event. Prinnies. What do you mean prinnies? The souls of the dead sewn into a stuffed penguin and forced to work to pay off the sins they built up in life, the knowledgeable redhead informed him. So those were dead people. Sakura stated as she lost all color from her face. Yep. Where's Naruto? The Hokage asked when he realized that the blonde was nowhere to be seen. Well, if he's recovered from his fear, he'll probably be getting something to eat, the fox informed them casually. Sigh, well, if everything is all right, then I guess I should let everyone continue with their lunch. The Sandame stated before he and the Anbu left the academy grounds. 3 hours later we find the future overlord sleeping in the middle of the classroom, while Sasuke and Hinata sat quietly waiting for their sensei to finally arrive. I hope nothing bad happened to sensei. The pale-eyed girl stuttered out in an attempt to break what was for her an uncomfortable silence. HN was THE only reply she received from the raven-haired Uchiha as he proceeded to ignore her attempts at a conversation, before finally giving in to his urges and attempting to wake the blonde. Hey, Blondie, where did you get all that power? Snore was the response when he failed to so much as disturb the demon's nap. Just before he could do anything, the door opened, revealing a tall and lanky man with gravity-defying silver hair. A face mask that covered his nose and jaw and a Konoha Hite that covered one of his eyes. My first impression is, I don't like you, meet me on the roof, the straw Inger stated before vanishing in a puff of smoke. HN, Sasuke grunted out, before proceeding to leave his teammates behind. Hinata was unsure of what to do. On one hand she didn't want to wake the blonde demon in case he killed her. On the other hand she didn't want to get in trouble with her sensei for leaving him. Deciding on her course of action, she just hoped her new teammate wasn't as violent as she thought he was. Excuse me, Naruto-san. Naruto-san sensei left, she muttered quietly as she proceeded to nudge the blonde a little, hoping that it was enough to wake him. It wasn't. Taking a deep breath and hoping for the best, Hinata proceeded to shove the blonde out of his seat. Sensei's here. Yan, who are you? Came the ever so eloquent response from the whiskered blonde. I'm your teammate. Sensei told us to meet him on the roof, the nervous girl stuttered out, poking her fingers together in anxiety. Oh, is that all? By the way, grow a spine, you're almost as pathetic as Mickey. The strangely dressed blonde ordered her. Mickey, so you two finally decided to grace us with your presence, the one-eyed Jonin stated calmly when the two appeared. Sorry sensei, but Hinata started only to get cut off by the blonde. Just get on with it already. Quote. You actually think you can order your sensei around? The masked man asked blankly, before feeling the sheer raw power the blonde possessed and feeling fear once again. You might be higher ranked than me but you are nowhere near my level, human, so know your place and hurry up. Sasuke didn't understand it. The new guy called their sensei a human while making it sound derogatory and insulting. It didn't really make any sense unless he wasn't human. Hey, new guy, why did you call sensei a human like that? The Avenger asked after regaining his wits after facing such an incredible power. Why? Because you're all just pathetic humans, that's why. But aren't you human too? What? Of course I'm not human. What sort of stupid question is that? Sasuke froze. This blonde wasn't even human. His power was truly terrifying and he seemed even more arrogant and egotistical than he himself did. He would be fun to have around. So, if you're not human then what are you? The silver-haired Jonin asked cautiously. I'm a demon of course. Geez, what the hell is wrong with you people, Can't even identify a demon when you see one. A demon. Yes, a demon. What else could I be? A fucking angel. Trust me when I say this but I've met those pricks and they're nothing like a demon. Well, I think we should introduce ourselves, you know, your likes, dislikes, hobbies, dreams for the future, you know that kind of stuff, the Jonin stated in an attempt to change the topic. Hey, why don't you go first asshole? The powerful blonde practically ordered. Fine then. My name is Hitaki Kakashi, my likes, my dislikes, I have many hobbies and haven't really thought about the last one, the silver-haired man stated. You first Blondie. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. Quote. Aren't you going to say anything else? No. Fine then. Duck butt, you're next, Kakashi said. Pointing towards the raven-haired Avenger. My name is Uchiha Sasuke. I have few likes and many dislikes. My hobbies are training and my dream for the future is to revive my clan and to kill a certain man. The last of the legendary Uchiha clan stated coldly. You know, you've just gone up a notch in my book duck butt, you are now at notch 1, out of 1,000, the blonde stated calmly, earning S. Everal strange looks off his new teammates. Okay. Your next white eyes. My name is H. Hyuga Hinata. I like my family A and flower arranging. I dislike how some of my F family treats others. My hobbies A or F flower arranging and C cooking. My dreams for the F future are T to unite my clan and lead it well. Pathetic. You are far too much like Mickey to lead, but at least he ha. S. Ophelia and Dryzen to kick his ass into gear, Naruto told her condescendingly. Who's Mickey? Kakashi asked in confusion. The most pathetic demon overlord I have ever met, far too kind and caring for his position. There's nothing wrong with being kind and caring. Hinata shouted at the overlord to be. There's when you're a demon, especially an overlord. That's quite enough, both of you stop arguing like little children. The silver-haired sensei ordered, before being subjugated to the monstrous killing intent of a pissed-off demon. Who do you think you are trying to order me around? Naruto demanded, his eyes holding an anger greater than anything the Jonin had ever witnessed before. Look here, I understand you don't like the idea of me telling you what to do, but at the mom. And I just want to avoid any unnecessary conflict. Okay, the nervous Jonin told his most dangerous student, causing the blonde to lay off the murderous intent. Alright, now normally a team would be GI. Then a test to see if they deserve to be genin. However, I don't feel comfortable with the idea of fighting you, he claimed, pointing at the demonic blonde, so we'll just skip that and say that you're genin without it. So meet me at training ground 3 tomorrow at 7 in the morning, Yane, and with that said the Jonin vanished via Shunshin, quickly followed by the blonde when his mantle took the shape of a pair of wings and let him fly away from the stunned genin. So this is what you meant when you said there was a castle near training ground 44, the Hokage deadpanned when he saw the massive structure towering over the forest of death. Yeah, I have no idea how it got here, but it wasn't here 2 days ago. A young woman with purple hair, tied like a pineapple, a knee-length tan trenchcoat, a mesh shirt and a short, dark orange skirt, said to the old man. What are you doing here, Hokage? Twirling around, both individuals were surprised to see the strangely dressed blonde standing behind them completely calm. Ah, Naruto-san, Twitch, do you have any idea how this, the Hokage said pointing at the castle, got here? Pretty squad. Quote. Those penguin things that repaired the Academy's training ground after you obliterated it. Yes. Quote. Are you sure this castle is big enough for you? The Sandame asked sarcastically. No, it isn't, but that's all we could fit in this tiny plot. The blonde told him seriously. I think you really need to work on your sarcasm. You actually sounded serious there, the woman told him. I was serious. Quote. What? My grandfather's castle is at least 150 times larger than this, Naruto told them calmly, causing the two humans to look at him blankly. Just how over the top are demons? Many demons possess eccentricities, but you grow used to them. A feminine voice called out from behind them, prompting them to face the human form of Kyubi. So you're saying that it'll probably take a while for us to grow used to Naruto? Yep, this is going to be a long year, the Hokage muttered before the demons entered the castle for the night. Not far from the small gambling town of Tanzakugai lay a large bandit camp. At the moment the inhabitants were celebrating a successful haul with lots of sake they had just procured from a passing-by merchant caravan. Others were celebrating by getting pleasure off the several captive women in the camp. Boom. Naruto. There were innocents in that camp. Kakashi shouted at the currently bored blonde. So, why does that matter? Came the uncaring response of the demonic genin. We should have rescued them. Why? Because it would be the right thing to do. I'm a demon, do you really think I want to do the right thing? The red-eyed genin deadpanned. Sigh, look, I know. You might not like the idea, but if Konoha is known for doing the right thing, then we're more likely to get more clients than the other villages. Think of it as gaining influence through deception. He silver-haired Jonin said in an attempt to get the blonde on a leash. Forget it, I don't need to use deception to gain influence in this world, the whiskered blonde told him straight. It had been OV. A month since the young demon had arrived in Konoha, and things were going relatively smoothly for the black-clad blonde, with him getting his hands on several vassals. The reactions he got from the humans when they found out he had a dragon under his command were absolutely hilarious. As far as he was concerned, it was almost like they thought the species was nothing more than a fairy tale. Then there was that one time when the child that invaded his castle bought a toy sword from Rosen Queen using some HL he pickpocketed from an inattentive gargoyle and used it against his tutor. That was the first time the humans discovered the demonic weapon's ability to channel demonic strength into their wielders, which resulted in a battered and bruised instructor. Of course, ever since then the Ans had been attempting to buy the extremely powerful, in their eyes, equipment with little success due to the simple fact that they didn't have any HL to pay for the objects. Sigh, so let me get tea. His straight. Naruto vaporized everyone in the camp, civilians and all, the aged Hokage stated, earning a nod of confirmation off the Jonin sensei. I should have known that would happen after the Tora incident. The old man muttered as he palmed his face in despair. Please, don't remind me. Anyway, what do you want us to do now? The one-eyed Jonin asked the aged leader. Sigh, let's see. There aren't any missions left for Genin. So you are all dismissed, the aged leader stated before remembering something. Oh, before you go, Naruto, someone arrived here yesterday looking for you. They were very unique. In what sort of way? The blonde asked with clear interest. It was a girl with long white hair, unusual eyes, what looked like handcuffs on her wrists and a white dress. She said her name was Pram. The blonde finished before the Hokage could finish. Yes, I take it you know her then. She is an overlord. One of her manipulations turned my grandfather into a book a while ago. Naruto informed the other occupants of the room. Why, you must really dislike her then, the timid Hyuga heir stuttered out. Nah, she's helped me get revenge on the old bastard several times, came the casual reply from the young demon. Earning blank stares off everyone but the Hokage. But if she did something that horrible to your grandfather, then why aren't you angry with her? Hinata asked in confusion. Oh, I am. She could have at least waited until after I was born to do it, the blonde said with a hint of annoyance in his tone. Why would that matter? Because then I could have head my ass off after giving him to a library. Quote. Now if that's all, I would like some time to get through all this paperwork, Sarutobi stated calmly. So where is Pram? The young blonde asked. She should be waiting in your castle. The old man informed him, fully expecting to have to pay for a new wall. All right, that's it. You're not going to destroy anything or kill anyone? The Hokage asked in surprise. No, but I heard that you threatened my grandson and his tutor when they went into your castle uninvited. Probably. What do you mean probably? I can't remember that ever happening, but it probably did, so I'm not going to deny it, the red-eyed blonde stated calmly. If that's so, then why aren't you reacting the same way towards this girl entering your castle uninvited? 2 reasons. 1. I know her, so it isn't like some complete stranger entering uninvited, and 2. She's an overlord, she's supposed to act like she owns everything, came the surprisingly calm reply from the young demon. And if she wasn't an overlord? Then it would depend on how much I don't hate her, Naruto stated with a shrug. Quote. Sigh, fine then. Now please leave me in peace so I can get on with my paperwork. And with that final plea, Team 7 finally left the Hokage's office. Naruto didn't understand why this always happened. Whenever he knew he was going to be seeing Pram, it was always the same. His stomach began to feel strange, almost like there was some kind of flying insect inhabiting it. It was really pissing him off, especially considering the fact that his nd mother refused to tell him what it meant, saying, "You are too much like your grandfather to accept." What it means, that woman could be a right pain at times. Walking through his own corridors, the young blonde proceeded to approach the enormous doors that lead to the throne room, before they swung open, revealing that his throne was being occupied by someone. The perpetrator possessed long white hair that fell to her waist, with a headband that looked like a pair of triangular, black ears that erupted from the top of her head. Her eyes were distinctive as well, possessing a black sclera with red iris. She was wearing a white dress with a large, bulbous skirt with a single piece of red trim wrapped around it. while a leather X strap with a ruby in the middle held the dress up, while her feet were covered by a simple pair of shoes with red ribbons acting as laces. Her wrists were trapped in what could only be described as excessively large handcuffs, and a small set of white bat wings sprouted from between her shoulders, passing harmlessly through her silky hair. "Sue, you're finally back, Teehee," came a chirpy voice with a distinctive laugh from the girl when she noticed the blonde arrive. "Two things, 1. Why are you here? 2. How the fuck did you get the postcode for this place?" Naruto asked, hoping to find out just how many demons could potentially show up. "Well, let's see. I'm here to see how Zeda's grandkid's doing, which, by the way, I'm really disappointed in you. You should have conquered this place by now," the white-haired girl stated before the blonde cut her off. "What? I decided to have some fun first. Is there something wrong with that?" "And what do you mean by fun?" "Do what these humans do until I grow bored of the higher-ranked stuff, then I'll conquer this world." "I see. So are you building up your forces while you're screwing around here?" "Of course I am. What sort of retard do you think I am?" "Well, you're not as stupid as your grandfather, but then again that would be pretty hard," the red and black-eyed girl said with a small smirk as the blonde's vein bulged in irritation. "Screw you. I'm nowhere near as stupid as that moron. The only reason my assassination attempts failed is because that bastard is too fucking powerful," the younger demon said indignantly. "TCH, excuses, Pram said condescendingly as she shook her head slowly, further annoying the blonde. "TCH, say what you like, I would still like to know how you got the postcode for this world," the blonde stated as he schooled his features, though it was still obvious that he was irritated. "Oh, that's easy. Do you remember that red-headed vassal of Overlord Krichevskoy keeps?" "You mean the flat-chested one that can only get prinnies to work for her?" "That's the one. Anyway, apparently one of her prinnies was spying on Zeda and discovered that you would be leaving, so they did what came naturally, report back every little detail, including your new postcode." "Which flat chest spread throughout the multiverse," the white-clad demon said chirpily. "So, me living here is now common knowledge among overlords." "Yep. Then that would mean, oh crap, he'll show up sooner or later, won't he?" the blonde asked rhetorically as he proceeded to face the floor in depression. "Oh damn, you're right, that old bastard never leaves things alone, does he?" Pram Street aided as she proceeded to scheme of all the different possible ways to get rid of the person without drawing too much attention. He definitely didn't deserve any. "Sigh, I think I'd prefer that weirdo. That keeps annoying Adele and Rosalind to him," Naruto muttered. Oh yeah, I forgot about him. What's his name again?" I think it was Vyers. Wait, no, that's that guy Laharl calls mid-boss. I give up, I can't remember," the young blonde finally admitted. "Same. I believe his name was Axel," came a familiar voice, causing both demons to look at the newly appeared Kitsune. Quote, "How the hell do you remember someone that inconsequential?" Naruto asked dumbfounded. "Well, to be honest, back when I was a little kid, he used to be the star of a show I watched every day," the redhead admitted. Quote, "You mean that idiot actually did something?" Naruto asked wide-eyed. "As surprising as it is, yes," the older redhead admitted. "Well, now that that's settled, what's for lunch, Pipsqueak?" Pram asked as she appeared behind the blonde. "Why the hell should I cater for you?" "Because an overlord has to cater for guests," the white-haired girl stated. "You weren't invited, and I'm not an overlord yet." TCH. Excuses. Cue several twitches from the blonde. "But anyway, I'm hungry, so where the hell is the dining room?" Sigh, "Fine then, I was going to have nothing to eat anyway, so one more mouth shouldn't be a problem," the blonde finally gave. On the outskirts of Konoha, two teams of Anbu were debating what to do. Nothing in the rules told them what to do when they discover a bipedal bear wearing a cape, skirt, boots and a crown, tiptoeing behind trees on what could only be described as an indirect route towards the village. "So it's decided then. Someone will go and inform Hokage-sama of this," one of the captains stated, earning a nod of agreement from the rest, before they selected the one that would inform the village leader. Not long AF. The lone Anbu left to inform the aged leader. Something unexpected happened. a lone child stumbled through the woods and straight into the bear's path. There was silence as the child stared at the monster, unable to decide whether to scream or laugh at the massive bear's ridiculous appearance. "What do we have here?" came a grand and, surprisingly overenthusiastic voice from the bear, a lost child, all alone. Unprotected within these, possibly dangerous woods. What sort of parent allows their children to face such danger? "I have decided. I, King Drake III, shall take you back home." The humans watching couldn't believe their ears. This thing was actually capable of talking like that with a straight face. "Come, little child, tell me where you live, for I shall escort you there." But I was running away. That now mentally scarred child said without thinking. Gasped, what sort of atrocious creatures are they to treat their child so bad that he would flee their suffocating grasp? The bear asked in its ridiculously over-the-top tone, "Tell me so I can bring them to justice." They grounded me for failing a test at school, the child said, expecting to be told off and taken back. They what? Grounding a child for failing a test? What sort of monsters are your parents? Trying to force you to live in such an unsightly manner. Every human present could only watch in disbelief as the strange creature proceeded to rant about something. They couldn't really bring themselves to listen to him anymore after all. Sarutobi knew this wasn't a good idea, but he had to make sure his hunch was right. Knocking on an excessively large set of doors, he waited for the blonde demon to respond. Enter. Walking into the extremely large dining room, the Hokage immediately noticed the white-haired visitor sitting at the oversized table eating at a much more sedate pace to the blonde. "Excuse me, Naruto, but I have just received an unusual report from one of my ambush squad patrolling the outskirts of Konoha," the aged leader stated in a very formal manner. "What does that have to do with me?" came the expected reply. "Do you happen to know any bipedal bears that wear a cape and crown?" Bang! Sarutobi could only blink in surprise when both Naruto and his visitor slammed their heads to the massive table. "I'll take that as a yes then." Sigh, his name is King Drake III, he was once an overlord. But lost his netherworld somehow. Not that it's that surprising, he is nothing more than a shameless idiot, Naruto admitted with a look of shame simply from knowing the demon. "So should I send him to you when he reaches the village?" "Hell no. Seal him in a toilet or something. The universe would be better off without him," the red-eyed blonde stated, earning a disbelieving stare from the aged cage. "I don't think I have ever come across anyone that thought of sealing something in a toilet," Hiruzen stated before turning around and leaving to try and find a way to keep this King Drake III sealed away. King Drake III was a proud demon, though he was also a conniving backstabber and complete coward. He was fully expecting the humans of his world to know exactly who he was, as his tales of bravery, heroism and grit were spread throughout the multiverse. So it came as no surprise to him when he was greeted by a contingency of military personnel, forming a path towards a tiny, in an overlord's eyes, tower in the middle of the small village. "Ah, great King Drake III, I have heard countless tales of your exploits and endless bravery," an old man wearing white and red robes said from the village entrance, causing the young child to widen his eyes at the fact the Hokage knew the freak that was escorting him. "Aha, if my exploits have reached your ears, then you will know that you should bow down before me," the demonic being said in his grand voice, prompting the Hokage to signal for the ninja to bow down. "Now tell me, where is Naruto Uzumaki?" "Who?" And suddenly King Drake couldn't help but feel a little confused. He was certain that the blonde had been reported to be here, but this stranger didn't seem to know the name. "This is World 7K3, 1PO, 89J, LS8. 107, BVF, 51A, right?" the large bear asked in slight confusion. "No dude, this is 7K3, 1PI, 89J, LS 8107, BVF, 51A, dude," came a familiar voice to all demons. "Ah, a prinny, so I got the postcode wrong. Oh well. Tell me, who is your overlord?" Drake asked in his usual grand tone. "Overlord? We don't have an overlord, all we have are prinnies and the odd demon that pops up now and then," Sarutobi told the former overlord calmly, causing the demon's face to light up as his mind ran through countless scenarios where he was a beloved overlord and defended his new World from the likes of demons like Pram and Zeda. He really couldn't, but he's an idiot, so let him have his fantasies. Well then, how would you like to have me, King Drake III, overseeing everything in this world? The strange creature asked overenthusiastically. Are you suggesting that we gain an overlord of your stature? The Hokage responded with shock clear in his voice. Indeed I am. Now take me to the throne. The proud demon demanded, and Sarutobi obliged. Walking down the main street, Drake couldn't help but notice the confused looks on the civilians. He immediately came to the conclusion that they didn't understand what a former overlord of his magnitude was doing in their insignificant village. Upon entering the small tower, the overlord of the past had no difficulty memorizing the path laid out before him as the aged leader took him to the throne room. However, the mighty overlord suddenly took a different expression upon seeing the throne, a toilet. That is not a throne, came the king's deadpan statement as anger began to slowly fill him. What do you mean this isn't a throne? If it isn't a throne, then what is it? The wrinkled old man asked the demon, with confusion written all over his face. You have a toilet and don't even know what it is? The bear-like demon asked in disbelief. Well, it fell from the sky and into one of our hot springs 1D. So we assumed it was a gift from the heavens, so we've always used it as a throne, Hiruzen told the demon with a perfectly straight face. Is that so? Then I, King Drake III, will educate you on the use of a toilet. The idiotic demon lord stated before walking over to the object and pulling his skirt down. Now the first thing to do is to pull your pants down and sit on the seat, or more specifically, the one with a large hole in it. Everyone watching could only stare in disbelief at the fact that the demon was literally evacuating his bowels in front of them, with absolutely no hint of embarrassment on its features. And for the last part of using a toilet, you must always flush it, the demon informed them before pulling the lever, and suddenly finding himself getting sucked into the toilet with his excrement. I can't believe that actually worked, Hiruzen couldn't help but admit once the former overlord could no longer be seen. I told you, didn't I? King Drake is an idiot, came the familiar voice of Kyubi as she made her way out of a corner. Several books held under her arm as a pair of reading glasses decorated her face. Perhaps, but what surprises me the most is the fact that you actually managed to create a seal powerful enough to house that moron's power, the Hokage admitted. Well, I will admit that your own sealing arts are highly advanced, all they really lack is raw power, which a demon is more than capable of supplying, Kyubi admitted with a smile. I see. May I ask something? The old man asked the fox calmly. Go ahead. Do you really need those glasses? What, isn't a girl allowed to feel good about herself? The fox asked, causing the Hokage to sigh in defeat. He would never understand demons, or women. So how long will that seal hold him? He suddenly asked, causing the fox to blink a couple of times. Oh, it should last at least a few thousand years, with maintenance, came the nonchalant response from the kitsune as she shrugged in a noncommittal manner. With maintenance? And what sort of maintenance are we talking about here? The aged leader asked suspiciously as he eyed the kitsune. Oh, nothing much, just checking up on the seal every 10 to 15 years and making sure it doesn't deteriorate should suffice, the older of the two said calmly, earning a sigh of relief from the old man. I see. Well then, I take it I can leave this in your capable hands. Sure, I don't have much else to do right now anyway, so I don't see why I can't deal with this, the fox told him calmly, allowing the Sandame to leave the room and return to his paperwork. The item world was a simple place. It was a separate dimension, located within an object where its potential was locked in different floors. The higher the potential the item had, the more floors it had and the more powerful it was, the stronger the monsters in it were. Naruto had to admit, training in the item world had its benefits, primarily the almost endless PPLY of enemies that would keep appearing, which when you consider that a demon gets stronger by killing, made it quite a useful place to have access to. So here he was, in what he considered a worthless weapon, making sure his vassals didn't get killed. Well, they seem to be doing all right so far, so why are you still here? Pram asked as she watched the younger demon's minions completely decimating the inhabitants of the sword. Let's put it this way, I would rather not have a single vassal come back and claim the enemy was too hard for them, when in reality they just had a disagreement and killed each other. The blonde stated with a completely serious tone. So they get along too well, huh? The white-haired girl asked with a small smile. Yeah, I haven't seen them try to kill each other even once. The spiky-haired blonde told her calmly. Yep, definitely suspicious, she agreed without even a slight bit of consideration as she watched the vassals strike down the last of the inhabitants of that floor. Naruto's vassals weren't exactly what she would call special, a simple group consisting of a well-built woman with green hair, wearing what looked like leather armor and carrying a large spear, a woman with long blonde hair wearing robes, a large humanoid figure with exaggerated arms and wooden skin, a tall and muscular man with golden hair and pupilless eyes that wore a single-piece jumpsuit, while a gold aura caused his hair to levitate, and last but certainly not least, a 10-foot-tall bipedal dragon with green scales. Of course, it wasn't their appearance that she paid attention to, it was their power she cared about, and it wasn't exactly awe-inspiring, well, for an overlord anyway. They're weak, Pram stated bluntly, causing the boy to grit his teeth in irritation. Of course they are. That's why I'm making them train, Naruto stated clearly, fully expecting the girl to start making fun of him. Excuse me, Master Dude, but dinner is ready, dude, came the familiar voice of a Prinny, giving the blonde relief as he decided to call it a day, not prepared to leave his vassals unsupervised in an area with enemies. He knew what he had to do. He had selected his tar. Getten knew that it would be easy pickings, even though said target was a 6-foot-tall demon with a lizard head and bat-like wings. He knew it would be easy pickings because of the simple fact that he had never failed against it before. Quietly sneaking up on it, he shouted one thing and one thing only, assassin. Immediately the demonic entity spun around, only to see nothing. It continued to search for the so-called assassin for several seconds before it suddenly remembered what happened every time that happened. Its hands instantly dived into its pockets, only to find its wallet gone, yet again. Shit, was all it could say as it realized that it had been robbed for the 4th time that week. Konohamaru couldn't help but let out a smug grin as he searched through the wallet he had just managed to pickpocket from the demon. Sure, he had no idea how much was there, but he could at least use it to buy some of the really strong stuff that new store sold. And so with that in mind, he headed over to Rosen Queen's Konoha branch, the wallet out and ready for spending. Walking into the store, he came across a sight that had become a normal occurrence for him. Standing behind a counter was a pair of people, one a large man with white hair, pupilless eyes and a dark complexion, wearing some form of martial artist robe, while the other was a young girl wearing lots of orange and a hat with goggles attached to them. Behind them was a large selection of weapons, armor and strange objects that looked strange even for a member of a ninja village. Hey, I'm back, the young boy sighed with a smile as he walked up with the wallet in plain sight. Well, hello there, Konohamaru, how can we help you today? The man asked with a warm smile, causing the little boy to look at all the objects on the wall. Let's see, what's that? Came a simple question as the boy pointed towards a small, white object on the wall. That's called an imperial seal, the strange man told him easily, causing the child to tilt his head in thought. So what does it do? Konohamaru asked him curiously. It makes you stronger, though not by much, the shopkeeper told him calmly, causing a maniacal grin to grace the child's face. The last time the shopkeeper had said something was weak, it had given him enough power to hospitalize his sensei. I'll take it. And with that said, the child handed the wallet over to the man, who in turn took the item from the wall and gave it to the child, quickly followed by some change. Thank you. And with that said, the little child ran out of the store to learn how to use his new object. You know, I like that kid, the strange man said out loud, causing the girl to look at him calmly. And will you still like him when he learns to count? Nope. Sarutobi Hiruzen felt conflicted. On one hand, Team 8 had just encountered a serious problem in their mission, escalating it from AC to an A rank. However, there were no Anbu or Jonin teams available for backup. The only team available just so happened to be the one with a homicidal demon lord as a member, the one that was more likely to try and vaporize one of Team 8's members as opposed to help them. Eventually he decided, he would simply have to risk it. He would have to send Team 7 to Nami no Kuni. Kakashi-sensei, Sasuke called out as they traversed the treetops while heading towards Nami no Kuni at top speed. Yes, Sasuke, came the questioning response from the experienced Jonin as he didn't even turn his head to look at the boy. Why does Naruto get to ride a dragon? Because it is his dragon. Came the quick response from the Jonin as he wondered to himself exactly where the blonde had managed to find himself a pet dragon. He thought they didn't even exist, but then again that the Biju were the only demons that existed, until he met Naruto and felt the obviously demonic aura he possessed. But why does he get to sit on his ass while we run ours off? The dark-haired Uchiha asked, causing the cycloptic Jonin to look at him blankly. If you want to try ordering him to run with us then feel free, but I value my life, was the simple reply, causing the young boy to accept the reason. He had forgotten just how psychotic his teammate was, even if he wasn't as psychotic as that Pram that they came across on their way to collect him for the mission. Despite the sharp pace they were traveling at, Sasuke couldn't help but look up to the sky and watch the nearly 20-foot-long dragon flying through the sky without a care in the world. It actually made him jealous that the blonde could command beings of such strength. It just went to further display the difference in their power, which already seemed too large to measure. The worst part for him, however, as thinking what would happen if the demon met his brother, who would win if they fought each other, then again. Would they even fight each other? It was one of those things Sasuke couldn't help but grow nervous about. Would the blonde find Itachi more worth his time than Konoha? Quickly snapping himself out of his musing, the young Uchiha decided to just continue running like he had since they left Konoha. Kakashi-sensei. Came a rather meek call from behind the other two as Hinata decided to ask a question she had been thinking about ever since the group left the village. Sigh, what is it, Hinata? The Cyclops responded in exasperation as he began to wonder what God had decided to put him with a spoiled brat, a spineless clan heir and a psychotic demon prince. Well, Team 8 has Sakura-chan in it, doesn't it? The lavender-eyed girl asked for confirmation. I don't know. I didn't even pay attention to who was in MY team when we were assigned them, the Jonin stated bluntly. Ing blank stares off his two human students. Well, if Sakura-chan is in Team 8 then we can't let Naruto-san see her, came the young girl's statement, causing the older man to look at her with a raised eyebrow. And why is that? Came Kakashi's simply question as the group began to near the sea that separated Nami from the mainland. The last time he saw her he blew up a training field, something about him being scared of pink hair. Sasuke told the white-haired man, causing a sweat drop to make itself known on the older man's forehead. Do you honestly expect me to believe a story like that? Not really. I find it hard to believe myself, but you know what being around him is like, the raven-haired genin said while motioning towards the dragon with his head. Yeah, that's a good point. However, I'm sure Hokage-sama would have thought about something like that before sending us, the one-eyed ninja said calmly as the humans came to halt at the beach, their eyes darting around to find a trace of a boat that could be used to get into the country. Are you forgetting that he chose us out of desperation because there were no other available teams? The dark-eyed boy asked the Jonin blankly, earning a sweat drop from the older nin. Sasuke, I am trying to enter denial. Please stop trying to stop me. The statement earned several sweat drops from the rest of the team, even the Drago. And that had literally landed just a few feet away now that the others couldn't go any further. PFF'd. So what do you plan on doing, Kakashi? Came a rather arrogant voice from the same direction as the dragon, revealing the blonde demon standing in his typical attire with his hands behind his head in a lazy fashion. I'm planning on procuring a boat so we can all cross to Nami. Kakashi stated calmly, earning an understanding nod from the blonde while his face was held in an expression that Kakashi had grown used to seeing. This particular expression meant, there is something I've not told you, and considering the timing of it he could easily conclude what the boy wasn't telling him. You have a boat, don't you? Yes, why? The standard response that told the man the boy had no intention of letting them use what was his. Naruto, please, can we use your boat for this one trip? We really are in a hurry here and using your boat could save us a lot of time and effort, Kakashi asked the boy ning a blank stare off the demonic child before he rolled his eyes and pulled out a strange blue object that he lazily dropped to the floor before a flash of light blinded the humans that looked at it. You called master. Came another voice everyone was familiar with as they opened their eyes to see the red-headed form that most of Konoha now knew belonged to the legendary Kyuubi no Kitsune. They want to use one of my boats. The statement was said calmly as the boy pointed at the human members of the group. I see. Well, there are 4 of you excluding Sal, so, Kyuubi started only to be interrupted by the blonde. Just bring out the damn war galleon. Almost immediately the vixen proceeded to pull out what the humans had come to recognize as a dimensional storage unit before releasing a massive boat. Easily capable of carrying 100 men and have room to spare. They would have questioned the blonde's decision if they weren't familiar with demonic objects, knowing how they tended to work. They were expecting it to run on its own. They were disappointed. Prinnies. Teammate couldn't believe their luck as they waited in a large house situated above the sea via stilts. They had request DAC rank to test their progress, but then things took a turn for the worse. Not far from the village they had been assaulted by a duo of Chunin rank nuke nin from Kiri. They had been pushovers and the group of genin had been more than capable of destroying them without the aid of their sensei. After that they had discovered the problems that Nami no Kuni was facing, and despite their sensei's original decision to turn back Kiba and Shino had managed to convince her to change her mind and help the country in need. It was only after reaching the shore of Nami that they had encountered their first true obstacle. Another Kiri nuke nin by the name of Momochi Zabuza. Unlike the Chunin they had faced before, this one proved to actually be a genuine danger to the group, his abilities making him almost an even match for their sensei even after she started placing genjutsu on his ears and nose in an attempt to take him out. In the end she had managed to put him in a situation where she had been capable of finishing him off until a hunter nin had arrived and put him in a false death state under the pretenses of taking him back to Kiri for questioning. However, she knew that even with Zabuza out of the equation her team would struggle with whoever was hired next. After all, the enemy may prefer to spend less on his aid, but that didn't mean he couldn't afford the best around if he wanted to. It was for this reason that Yuhi Kurenai, the Jonin sensei of Team 8, had decided to send out a request for backup. She just hoped whoever the Hokage sent would be strong enough to help her deal with whatever threats lay ahead. Alright team, hopefully our backup should arrive soon. Until then we'll have to put all our focus on guarding Tazuna and the bridge workers. If everything works right, our support will arrive before any more confrontations can happen. Do you all understand? She explained to her team, consisting of a young boy with dark hair and a puppy on his head called Inazuka Kiba. Another boy wearing a large beige coat and sunglasses called Aburame Shino, and last but certainly not least, one of the few people with the feature Naruto fears unconditionally, Haruno Sakura. The group was broken out of its meeting by several knocks on the door made in a pattern made standard for all Anbu operatives so they could tell when it was one of their own trying to enter a room. Sakura, please go get the door. Our support has arrived. The immediate sigh of relief the older woman gave was easily noticeable by everyone in the room. Then again, she had expected her support to arrive later, mainly due to issues with passing the ocean separating the island from the mainland. Alright Kurenai sensei, came the almost nervous acknowledgement from the pink-haired genin before she moved towards the front of the house to open the door. Hello, Team 7 reporting for duty, came the calm call from a certain one-eyed jonin before the young girl's face took on an expression known to all as undiluted fear. Quickly performing a kawarimi with a random log located in the forest surrounding the house, she let out a sigh of relief upon realizing that she had been quick enough to avoid the explosion. Everyone else except Naruto looked on in horror upon seeing half the house obliterated by the spiky-haired blonde, as Kyuubi let out an annoyed sigh at her master's reaction. Had she known that Hat Girl had been there, she would have distracted him some way to give the girl a chance to cover her hair. I'm sorry about the damage, don't worry, I'll get it fixed, came her almost standard statement. Towards the residence as Team 8 stared at the group in shock. Sure, they knew that Naruto did that whenever he saw Sakura, but they thought the Hokage would have had enough sense to not send him on a mission like this. So you weren't joking when you said he blew up a training field the last time he saw her, the Cyclops said blankly as his eyes followed the blue penguin-like creatures that had become a common sight within Konoha recently. Tazuna and his family looked on in confusion as they saw an army of blue peg-legged penguins appear out of nowhere and start repairing the damage done by the sudden explosion. his mind idly going over the thought of how much quicker work on the bridge would be if he managed to get them to work for him. "Excuse me, what are you and can I hire you?" the old drunk suddenly asked one of the prinnies that was currently wearing a yellow hard hat. "Huh, we're prinnies dude, and do you have any HL dude?" The one that was obviously taking the role of foreman responded in the typical prinny fashion, greatly confusing the old man in the process. "What's HL? What's a prinny and what do you mean by dude?" came his questions, obviously unfamiliar with the blue stuffed penguins. Prinnies are the souls of the dead sewn into stuffed penguins and forced to work off the sins they committed in life. HL is the standard currency of the universe, though this world do Essence seem to use it, and dude is just a verbal tick all prinnies have, QB informed the man as she walked past Team 7 with a young black-haired girl wearing a red dress. Everyone except Naruto stared at the dark-haired girl before QB decided to explain. "This is Sakura. I dyed her hair so Master won't keep trying to kill her." The looks of understanding that came over the genins' faces confuse the adults before a simple demand rocked their ears. "Prinnies, I'm hungry." The end. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.